Imagine a gardening secret so powerful it could feed an entire village, not just for a season but for centuries. What if I told you this ancient wisdom isn't lost but thrives, offering a sustainable solution to food security even today? Prepare to discover a revolutionary indigenous technique that stood the test of time, and how it could change your approach to gardening forever. In our modern world grappling with food insecurity, climate change, and soil degradation, we often look toward cutting-edge technology for solutions. Yet buried in the traditional knowledge of indigenous peoples lies a gardening methodology so ingenious, so perfectly balanced, that it has sustained entire communities for over 1,000 years. This isn't just historical curiosity, it's a living, breathing system that could revolutionize how we think about growing food today. The indigenous peoples of North America developed what we now call companion planting systems that didn't merely grow food. They created self-sustaining ecosystems. These weren't simple gardens but complex agricultural partnerships that mimicked nature's own collaborative relationships. While modern agriculture often fights against natural processes, these ancient cultivators learned to work with them, creating abundance from what seemed like empty ground. What makes this approach truly remarkable is its holistic thinking. Indigenous gardeners didn't just consider individual plants but understood the intricate web of relationships between soil, water, nutrients, pests, and beneficial insects. They created a system where waste from one element became nourishment for another, where plants protected and supported each other, and where the garden itself became more resilient with each passing season. Unearthing the ingenious design, the Three Sisters method. The crown jewel of indigenous agricultural wisdom is the Three Sisters planting method, practiced by numerous tribes including the Haudenosaunee, Cherokee, and many others across North America. This brilliant companion planting system combines corn, beans, and squash in a symbiotic relationship that maximizes yields while building soil health and requiring minimal external inputs. Here's where the magic happens. Corn serves as a living trellis, providing the vertical structure that climbing beans naturally seek. As the bean vines spiral upward around the corn stalks, they're performing one of nature's most elegant tricks: nitrogen fixation. Bean plants form partnerships with beneficial bacteria in their root nodules, capturing nitrogen from the air and converting it into a form that plants can use. This natural fertilizer doesn't just feed the beans, it enriches the soil for all three plants. Meanwhile, the squash spreads its broad leaves across the ground like a living mulch, creating a microclimate that conserves moisture and suppresses weeds. Those large, somewhat prickly leaves also deter common garden pests like raccoons and insects that might otherwise damage the corn and beans. The squash's extensive root system operates at a different soil level than its companions, accessing nutrients and water that might otherwise go unused. But the genius doesn't stop with the plants themselves. Indigenous gardeners understood timing and spacing with scientific precision. They would plant corn first, allowing it to establish a strong foundation. Once the corn reached about 6 inches tall, they would plant beans around the base, giving the corn enough strength to support climbing partners. Finally, squash would be planted slightly later and farther out, ensuring it wouldn't overwhelm its companions, but would still benefit from their protection and soil improvements. This system creates what ecologists call a polyculture, a diverse planting that mimics natural ecosystems. Unlike monocultures that deplete soil and attract pests, polycultures become more stable and productive over time. The Three Sisters method often yields 30% more food per square foot than the same crops grown separately, while using significantly less water and requiring no external fertilizers. A village-fed real-world impact through history. The Three Sisters method wasn't just a clever gardening trick. It was actually the foundation of food security for millions of people across the Americas. Archaeological evidence shows that these companion planting systems supported the complex urban centers of pre-Columbian America, including cities with populations exceeding 20,000 people. The Haudenosaunee Confederation, which included the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca nations, built their entire civilization around this agricultural system. Historical accounts from early European settlers consistently marveled at the productivity of indigenous gardens. In 1779, during Sullivan's campaign, American soldiers destroyed Haudenosaunee villages and were astonished to find cornfields stretching for miles, with some individual gardens producing enough food to feed hundreds of families. These weren't small subsistence plots but large-scale agricultural operations that supported permanent settlements, complex trade networks, and sophisticated societies. The resilience of this system became apparent during challenging periods. When European diseases devastated indigenous populations in the 16th and 17th centuries, the Three Sisters Gardens continued producing food with minimal maintenance. The self-sustaining nature of the system meant that even with reduced human intervention, the gardens could continue feeding survivors and gradually rebuilding communities. Modern applications of these principles continue to demonstrate their effectiveness. In contemporary Mexico, traditional milpa systems that incorporate the Three Sisters, along with additional crops like chilies and herbs, still feed rural communities while maintaining soil fertility across generations. Researchers studying these systems have found that traditional polycultures often outperform industrial monocultures in both yield per acre and nutritional diversity, especially during drought years or pest outbreaks. Community gardens across North America are rediscovering these methods with remarkable success. The Oneida Nation in Wisconsin has revitalized traditional Three Sisters planting in their community gardens, not only providing fresh food for tribal members but also reconnecting younger generations with ancestral knowledge. These modern applications prove that ancient wisdom remains relevant and effective in contemporary settings. The enduring lessons for today's gardeners. The benefits of indigenous companion planting extend far beyond simple food production. These systems create what permaculture designers call stacked functions. Each element serves multiple purposes, creating efficiency and resilience that single-purpose systems just can't match. When you plant a Three Sisters garden, you're simultaneously growing food, building soil, conserving water, managing pests, and creating habitat for beneficial insects. Soil health improvements from this system are particularly remarkable. The nitrogen-fixing capabilities of beans can reduce or eliminate the need for synthetic fertilizers. The diverse root systems, shallow-rooted squash, medium-depth corn, and deep-diving beans, create different soil layers and improve overall soil structure. Organic matter from the diverse plant debris feeds soil microorganisms, creating the kind of rich, living soil that industrial agriculture often destroys. Water conservation through this system can be extraordinary, especially important as climate change brings more frequent droughts. The squash leaves create shade that reduces soil temperature and evaporation, while the diverse root systems help soil retain moisture at different depths. Gardens using Three Sisters methods often require 40% less irrigation than conventional vegetable plots, a significant advantage in water-restricted areas. Pest management becomes natural and sustainable through companion planting. The biodiversity attracts beneficial insects that control harmful pests, while the physical structure of the plantings creates barriers that deter larger garden raiders. The aromatic compounds released by different plants can confuse pest insects that rely on scent to locate their preferred crops. This reduces or eliminates the need for pesticides, creating safer food and protecting beneficial insects like bees and butterflies. From an economic perspective, indigenous gardening methods offer tremendous value. The reduced need for external inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, and excessive irrigation can cut gardening costs by 60% or more. Seeds can often be saved from year to year, further reducing expenses. The nutritional benefits deserve special attention. The Three Sisters combination provides complete proteins when eaten together, along with essential amino acids, complex carbohydrates, and numerous vitamins and minerals. Indigenous peoples understood these nutritional relationships long before modern science explained them, creating diets that supported active, healthy populations. Cultivating a sustainable future. Implementing Three Sisters principles in your own garden starts with understanding your local growing conditions and adapting the traditional method to your climate and space. Even small spaces can benefit from these principles. Container gardens can successfully grow dwarf corn varieties with bush beans and compact squash, maintaining the beneficial relationships on a smaller scale. The timing remains crucial for success. Plant corn when soil temperatures consistently reach 60 degrees Fahrenheit, typically 2 to 3 weeks after your last frost date. Allow corn to reach 4 to 6 inches before planting beans around the base, spacing them about 6 inches from corn stalks. Squash should be planted 2 to 3 weeks after beans, positioned where they can spread without overwhelming the other plants. Seed selection can make a substantial difference in success. Choose open-pollinated varieties rather than hybrids when possible, as these maintain the genetic traits that made traditional systems so successful. Look for climbing bean varieties rather than bush types, and select winter squash varieties that can mature in your growing season. Beyond individual gardens, these principles can transform community food systems. School gardens using Three Sisters methods teach children about indigenous knowledge while providing fresh food for cafeterias. Community-supported agriculture operations incorporating polyculture principles often find they can produce more diverse food on less land while building rather than depleting soil resources. The broader implications extend to food sovereignty and climate resilience. As climate change creates more unpredictable growing conditions, the stability and adaptability of traditional polycultures become increasingly valuable. Communities that maintain diverse, locally adapted food systems are better prepared for supply chain disruptions and extreme weather events. This ancient wisdom offers hope in our modern food crisis. Indigenous gardening methods prove that abundance doesn't require exploitation, that productivity can coexist with sustainability, and that working with natural systems creates better outcomes than fighting against them. These aren't primitive techniques replaced by modern progress. They're sophisticated technologies that modern science is only beginning to fully understand and appreciate. The Three Sisters method represents more than a gardening technique. It embodies a philosophy of reciprocity and relationship that extends beyond the garden into how we understand our place in the natural world. When we plant corn, beans, and squash together, we're participating in relationships that have sustained communities for centuries, connecting ourselves to both ancestral wisdom and future possibility. As you consider implementing these methods in your own growing space, remember that you're not just planting a garden, you're cultivating a piece of living history, contributing to biodiversity, and participating in a food system that has proven its sustainability across centuries. Whether you have a large rural plot or a small urban balcony, the principles of indigenous companion planting can increase your harvest while reducing your environmental impact. The wisdom of the Three Sisters and other indigenous agricultural methods offers a path forward that honors both human needs and ecological health. In a world facing climate uncertainty and food insecurity, these time-tested techniques provide practical solutions grounded in thousands of years of successful implementation. If this exploration of indigenous gardening wisdom has sparked your interest in sustainable growing methods, make sure to subscribe to the Humus Heritage channel for more deep dives into traditional agricultural knowledge and practical growing advice. Share this guide with fellow gardeners who might benefit from these ancient techniques, and help spread awareness of the incredible agricultural legacy of indigenous peoples. Together, we can cultivate not just gardens but a more sustainable and food-secure future for all.